Okay, so we're super excited to get Kim Tang back with us in Sonoma in November. I am just going to invite her to join us. One second. Kim Tang, here she. Okay, we're all okay. We'll figure out the logistics. I'm so excited to have Kim Tang on with us.
Hello, hello,
We
everybody.
So we cannot wait to welcome her back to Sonoma in November this year. So we'll be landing in Sonoma on Friday the 13th of November 2026 and with us the entire weekend. So you can catch her live. But let's just get straight into it. Kim, I'm really curious to know your take on what is yoga. There's a little bit of a background noise. Maybe let's switch off the Zoom connection if we can. There's a little bit
Okay,
of a
sure.
feed background.
Is that better?
That's much better. Thank you.
Yeah,
Perfect.
you're welcome.
So,
Yeah,
Kim, I'd love
fantastic.
to hear your thoughts on what is yoga. Do tell.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, Danny, I'm super happy you hopped in on this. And always, I begin with love and gratitude. They are the highest frequencies. And I have a whole lot of love and gratitude for not only Ina, but also the entire Sonoma Like It Hot community. I am super excited. This is my 5th year back coming in November. I don't want you to miss it. We always celebrate my birthday and the other November birthdays at the dinner table after the event. You are invited, so please come. And let me see, Ina, did you say what is yoga?
What is yoga? We're gonna start big right away. What is your
Yeah,
take on yoga?
it's big, but it's also just foundational, right? Comprehensive. And, the super quick one-liners are yoga's life and yoga's a state of being. But you know that I'm going to put some more words around it. So let's slow down. Let's get super present. And let's really connect on all the levels. Now, yoga. Yoga is many things. And I'll give you some lists, but I want to really expand upon it. The journey through the self, watch this, through the self to the self, right? There are 8 limbs on the tree of yoga, and we can say that all 8 limbs, all paths lead to God. And in this moment, I think that we are specifically talking about things like asana and pranayama. So we're talking about, in this moment, 2 of the 8 limbs, and these 8 limbs exist in a yoga room, in a yoga class. However, mindful movement with breath, anything and everything can be your yoga. Doing dishes can be your yoga. So it doesn't have to take place in a 90-minute hot room with a format, although that's a pretty powerful time that you set aside to give yourself your undivided attention. Now, let's talk about this. And some of this is going to be I'm going to call it in contrast to other, what we can call sport. So I'm talking about what is yoga, but I want you to really use this as a reference for the other types of activity that have similar qualities. Okay. And then we can refer to that later.
Okay.
When we're practicing asana, when we're doing postures in a yoga class, and probably in this case specifically in a hot yoga class, I want to tell you that we are cultivating qualities of mind, 5 qualities of mind. They are self-control, determination, patience, faith, and concentration. Now, there's this thing that I like to say: the body is a learning device for the mind. And it's not even about the posture. The posture is just the tool we use to get there and the indication that we have. And if I may use an example of that, so I'm going to pull out a posture like Dandayamana Janyusharasana. It's called standing head to knee. And this is a posture that requires that you be incredibly flexible to get into that position, but incredibly strong to hit it and hold it in stillness against gravity. And there is no better way to learn how to concentrate than the standing balancing postures in the class that we teach, right? So the fact that you can hit and hold standing head to knee is actually, remember I said the posture is the tool we use to get there. That means the posture itself is a tool we use to learn how to concentrate. And then hitting and holding it in stillness against gravity is the indication that we have learned how to concentrate. So we use the body as a tool to cultivate the qualities of mind that I mentioned. There's a lot going on there. I want to talk about more than that. I want to make this picture bigger because we just talked about a class and a posture, but let's talk about a much, much bigger purview of what yoga is. And I want to tell you that we have a left hemisphere of the brain, and it is related to our sense of humanity, our egoic construct. And then we have the right hemisphere of the brain, and that is related to our divinity, our true connection to who we are in truth. And if I could just delineate that a little bit, the left hemisphere of the brain, which is connected to our humanity, our egoic construct, it actually is analytical, it's fear-based, resides in separateness. And in this moment, it takes only the past, it activates the past, projects it into the future, and it skips past who you are in truth and where your pure time presence and power reside, which is right here in the now. So the egoic construct through the left hemisphere is always trying to perpetuate its survival. And when we get really, really present and grounded in our nervous system, which we'll talk about in a minute, that's what's yoga, that pure time presence on every level of being, where there is no separateness. It's divine union. So, and the left hemisphere, here's the example I love to use. The left hemisphere will abide in the learning in a very, very laborious way. So in other words, we have this alphabet. It has 26 letters. And we take letter, and we put them together to make words. And then we go word, and we put them together, make sentences, and then sentence. We put them together to make paragraphs, paragraph. We put them, there's a reason I'm doing this, by the way. We put them together to make chapters, chapter. We put them together to make books, right? And it's very laborious. Now let's talk about the right hemisphere of the brain, your connection to divinity. Divinity does not require activating a past, projecting it into the future, skipping over who you're in truth and where your pure power resides. And it doesn't have to think, speak, or communicate in these letters, sentences, paragraphs, chapters, and pages. The right hemisphere more like communicates through feelings, through intuition, through downloads. You know the expression, a picture says 1,000 words. So you kind of sit in a moment of realization, and the realization is great, and it's vast, and it's not communicated through sentences. It's usually communicated through feelings, sometimes colors, things like that. So the reason I'm telling you this is because one of the greatest parts of yoga is Ida Pingala. Pingala is the left hemisphere, so that is associated with humanity. Ida is the right hemisphere, associated with divinity. And when the two hemispheres are in balance, then the sushumna opens. That's the energetic channel along the spine where the chakras reside. And now we're having a chakra conversation. And I want to tell you that there's not a bit of that is included in sport. So sport is amazing and wonderful. Sport is great for personal expression, for really even health and fitness, for even social aspects. But yoga is like self-cultivation, the journey through the self, to really unpack the layers of being. Here's another one, the causal field. Because who we really actually are, this person that presents as Kim Tang, is actually a compilation of, I'm going to call it thought identification in the causal field. And that means we have who we think we are, and that is shaped by the environment we grew up in, the culture, the country, the birth order, the socioeconomic status, education, all these things give us our identity of who we think we are as we make our way in the world. And we take that self-perception, we project it into the field to create our reality, and then we look for evidence of our own self-perception. We look for validation of our self-perception. It actually gets a little nuts out there if you don't understand those things. So let me see. Here's what I've said so far. I've said that yoga is a state of being. Yoga's life. Everything mindfully moving with breath is yoga. Oh, definition of yoga. Mindful movement with breath, stillness in posture, savasana between. That is one pure definition of the practice of asana. Without rest, without breath, without stillness in the posture, you're not actually practicing technically asana in the classical sense. So another super important thing, and this also differentiates yoga from sport. Yoga is what we can call the scientific method of health, not fitness, overall health, in which not only, and I'm getting ready to describe to you the infrastructure, not only every bone, joint, tendon, ligament, but especially and more importantly, as importantly, every single organ, every single gland, every single system in your body is affected every single time you practice. It's energization, it's oxygenation, and it's cultivation of authenticity in your life, capacity. Maybe now is the time to go into the nervous system. So let me pause there. Have I given enough examples of what yoga is in ways that you can reference what yoga, what is not yoga, or what yoga is not, or something like that?
Yeah, I would say one thing that you said that was really interesting to me was like, can I really be doing yoga whilst I'm doing the dishes?
Yes,
Yeah.
look at in the Bhagavad Gita, and my preferred Bible of sorts is in our lineage Yogananda's interpretation of the Bhagavad Gita, and
Mhm.
in this moment, Yogananda references, "I am not the doer," and you're in a pure state of union when doer, doing, and deed become one. So in this example, if you are truly in pure time presence, you are the doer in this moment, dishes, you're doing the dishes, you are the
Mhm.
doing, right? So you're fully, absolutely, positively present and engaged in exactly what you're doing. You're aware of the temperature of the water and the amount of soap in the sponge in your hand on the dish, and you're having this experience with it in pure time presence. All of your attention is going to it. You're mindfully moving with breath. You're aware of maybe every facet of the dish, the dinner that was just served, the people who just received the nourishment. And, you know, like that level of presence is yoga. And that's what we're meant to learn when we're taking a yoga class. It's not just about fitness. It sure is not gymnastics. And it's not just a stretch class in a hot room. It's a level of consciousness. It's a way of being in the world, because can you imagine your ability to navigate the terrain with that level of presence and awareness, and always awareness of your breath in every moment, no matter what you're doing, no matter who's around you, no matter what they're doing, you're always connected to calm, deep breath. And by the way, preferably in through the nose, out through the nose, because again, there it is, the nervous system, right? So
Yes.
do you want to go in that direction, Nina? Do you want to talk about nervous
Yeah, I
system?
love it. I just wanted to reiterate this that yoga is a level of consciousness and a way of being in the world. Yes, that's super
Mm-hmm.
beautifully said. Thank you.
Thank you. And
It's a
that's what
good
we do when we
reminder to take the
practice.
yeah, good reminder to take the yoga with you off the mat when you're done with the class. So that does bring us to the next point. So, especially talking about taking the yoga off the mat after you're done practicing, I feel like these days, over the last couple of years, things have gotten yet even more uncertain, even more changing, even more challenging sometimes, and a lot of change happening so quickly that we're kind of like struggling to absorb it and respond to it from our true sense of being. So in your experience, how does yoga practice help you to navigate our times currently with the pace of change and the new technology coming in and all the information coming at us? How can your yoga practice kind of like be a tool for you and with you?
Man, is that an important question. Man, is that an important question. Okay, let's unpack it. Breath is the bridge between mind and the body. Now, let's talk about nervous systems. And we're talking in this moment about, let's call it sympathetic, parasympathetic. So, in other words, fight or flight, or all is well in my world, rest and digest. And let's say that when you're triggered out there, let's say you turn the news on, let's say you go outside and you see something that's abrupt and alarming, whatever the case is, the first thing I want to tell you is that your nervous system is in response to your thoughts. This is a human quality. The nervous system is in response to the thoughts, and I want to tell you something, whether they're true or not, whether they're happening, whether they happened in the past and you're reactivating it, whether they haven't happened yet, you're projecting it, which frankly is a figment of imagination. The nervous system is in response to your thoughts. And if you do not know that and it goes unchecked, then you might be quite literally living your entire life in a state of sympathetic nervous system fight or flight, like high cortisol situations, right? And that makes you shrink and contract. It's a fear-based, it's a hyper state of fear. You don't thrive in that state. You constrict in that state, and you make your decisions in your life based on fear-based thoughts rather than the opposite. Now, here's what I want to tell you. When your nervous system, sympathetic fight or flight, is dysregulated, that can look like a couple of things. It can look like the mind is focused on thoughts from the past, holding you in your trauma, right? And by the way, I just want to tell you, my teachers called trauma cherished pain. And it's something that lives inside of you that sometimes we literally defend it, protect it, justify it. But we're not in our trauma state, in a liberated state of a regulated nervous system where you're very grounded in pure time presence, connected to breath through the nose and in your choosing in every moment, really connected to your power. And by the way, making your choices in your life from a high place of self-love and love for the whole of humanity. And frankly, just trust in whatever you want to call it, trust in higher self, trust in the universe, the order of all things, source. So there are different ways of being in the world, and in a yoga practice, you actually are working to not only create a very grounded state of being, but that's where you create, cultivate what I'm going to call capacity. You cannot create capacity from a dysregulated nervous system. But if you routinely practice being grounded and by controlling the breath, then you're able to actually embody, integrate, and demonstrate mastery of the central nervous system, understanding that breath is a bridge between mind and the body, meaning your calm, clear breath. Oh, that's a great example. Your calm, clear breath can bring you into a state of calm clarity, even when things around you are getting a little nuts, a little turbulent, a little tumultuous. And even if everybody else is in a panic state, you understanding breath, understanding, cultivating capacity, which simply means having had a lot of a practice staying grounded in heightened states of, alert, we'll just call it that. You create this capacity that you can always basically remain crystal clear and cool as a cucumber. You don't fling into a fear-based panic, anxiety, projecting into the future what hasn't happened yet and maybe never will. What happened before, it'll happen again. You just get really present right here, right now. And by the way, able to either speak into a truth in the moment, in pure time presence with love, even when things are a little elevated around you, or the ability to listen and receive maybe even very difficult truths, and or the ability to be in the presence of, let's use example, a car accident or some kind of a crisis state where you can stay really calm and present and actually affect conscious change. Instead of reacting, you're responding from a very high place. All of this happens, all of this you cultivate in a yoga class, and not necessarily in any of the other classes that are very popular these days. I think that's a good place for me to pause and see what direction you want to go in.
I love it. Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate breath being the bridge between the mind and the body. That's super beautiful. It's just like a reminder to, yeah, it's a great way to get grounded, to get present again. I learned recently the importance of why we breathe through the nose as opposed to the mouth, because when you breathe through the nose, the brain is able to calibrate and assess the volume of air that is being taken in. Whereas it cannot do that when you're mouth breathing.
Now,
Just
that is interesting. So, if I
yeah.
may tell you one of my favorite breath practices, and that is when I lay my body down at night, I actually first just notice my breath. I don't try to guide it, I just notice it. And
Mm.
after I just really connect to what's happening just automatically on its own in its current state, then I assign a count to the inhale and the exhale. And let's say, for example, that my natural inhale is the count of 6. I'm going to bring my exhale to evenness. And this is very definitely through the nose. And then I'm going to elongate the even measure, maybe an inhale of 6 and an exhale of 6 becomes an inhale of 8 and an exhale of 8. And that elongates to, say, 12, and then it elongates to 16, and then it elongates, I'm just going to go to the punchline, all the way to 30. So when I
Wow.
lay my body down at night, and I also have a little technique with it, and I'll share that technique with you, but first the bigger picture. When I lay my body down at night, I start that practice, and as I draw my awareness to the breath, I am fully aware of just the layers of resistance, just melting away, the events of the day, just being shed, being released, and then elongating the breath feels natural and comfortable. Now, what I do is an ujjayi breath, which is in through the nose, out through the nose, through the throat, from the belly. So I start empty and I fill up from the bottom to the top. So I fill up the belly, and then I fill up the lungs, and I loop at the top and exhale first the lungs and then the belly, squeeze empty at the bottom. And I visualize drawing the air up the left side of the spine, loop at the top, down the right side of the spine, squeeze empty at the bottom. Now, by the time I get to 30, inhale for 30, exhale for 30, and that, by the way, is 1 breath per minute. Do you know who breathes 1 breath per minute? The desert tortoise. And do you know how long they live? Like 130 years, right? And
Wow.
if only we understood the power that we hold with directing the breath, which, by the way, is yoga, right? Breath is a bridge between mind and the body, and we create that grounded capacity in a regulated state by breathing in through the nose. When the room is hot, when the posture is held a long time, it's very hard for us, and that's our greatest growth potential, our greatest opportunity for expansion. So breath, 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 nervous system, they are directly linked. Consciousness, Ida Pingala Sushumna, these are all unique to yoga. And you know the side perks, you get a body, for sure, a body that is as strong as it is flexible as it is strong. And with all certainty, they both increase together. However, there's so much more to it than that. Yeah.
Mhm. I love this. Thank you, Kim. I realize we're coming up onto 11:15, so I'm just going to drop a little teaser for next week. I'm so blessed and delighted. Like, this is one of the best gifts that came out from my time in America, is having the ability to spend time and presence with Kim, be it over, through oceans and countries or in person. And even just these like moments of wisdom, just reminding me to breathe and relax your mind. And it just changes the entire day. So I invite you to come back to join us again on Instagram next Thursday. We're going to be on with Kim every single Thursday, coming up to her visit to Sonoma on the 13th of November. So please come join us in person. But more than that, come and hang out with us online and bring some questions if you have any. Any and all questions are welcome. Yes, Kim?
Absolutely. No subjects are off limits.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So next week we're going to be discussing how often should you be practicing yoga, and the very common thing that I hear a lot from people whom I invite to come do some yoga with me. They always tell me, "Oh, well, I'm not flexible enough to do yoga, therefore I can't join." So we're going to talk a little bit about: do you need to be flexible at all to do yoga? Is that a requirement? But
Yeah, I
that's
can't
something we're going to
wait.
say for next Thursday. Thank you so much, Kim. I appreciate you. I love you. And we can't wait to see you. I can't wait to see you again next Thursday,
I love you
10:45.
too.
We'll see you there.
I'll be there. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you. Okay, let me see if I can switch this off. Okay.